By the way, I say this shit, and I am judging at this point. If you're over 40 years old and you have a TikTok account, if you're over 40 years old and you have a TikTok account, you, my friend, should probably kill yourself. Well, don't kill yourself, but you should think about it. Because, I mean, that's absurd. That's absurd. So, mic check 1 2 1 2. Good people, welcome back to another episode. Don't Kill the Messenger podcast, episode number 6. Yeah, we got 6 of them things out. We like Jordan, baby. We out here winning championships, taking people down. It's a good feeling. Ladies and gents, it is March 10th. It is a Friday. Your boy Marc is on one. I'm feeling great. I had a Zoa energy drink. I just came in. I just got my feet done. By the way, my feet feel so good right now. It's like I'm literally walking on cotton. That's how good my feet feel. But when I walked into the spot, my lady who normally does my feet, it's the first thing she says to me to kind of like, okay, chick, I see today's gonna be full of jokes. She says, "Where you been, my friend?" I was like, damn, it's been that long? Yeah, it was that long, man. I felt bad for the poor girl because when she was doing my toes, man, when she was cutting that my big toenail, man. Yo, she had to use both hands on that nail clipper, man. And I low key felt bad for her, but she's my people's. I don't know her name. I normally call her something, but I said I'm not gonna say what I normally call her because I'll probably get kicked off of YouTube's. But she is definitely a sweetheart, and I just want to tell you guys, if you're near the Co-op City area in that little mini mall and you need to go get your feet done, my peoples will take care of you. Hit me and I'll let you know her name. All right, so my good people, I'm on one. Let's get into the shit early. Okay, so last show, not even this show, I just came to say hi. It was like a little drive-by episode. So on the last drive-by episode, I came to you guys and I told you guys about NBA superstar Ja Durant getting into trouble for, he was on IG being super gangster. He was at a nightclub, got on IG Live. Was probably young boy was feeling himself. I'm not mad at that. We all been there before. Iced out, had the pistol in his hand, so we spoke about that. And I told you that Ja got suspended for 2 games from the Memphis Grizzlies. That's the NBA team he plays for. But apparently, Ja's in a little more hot water than I initially thought. So, since then, he's came out with a statement saying that he takes full responsibilities for his actions, that he's going to take some time away to get help. Now, when I read this, I kind of chuckled because I was like, oh, he's going to take some time away to get help. like he's mentally like he's going Ben Simmons on me, like he's mentally losing his stuff. No, Ja's not crazy, guys. Ja just did some crazy shit, like most people do. So it seems like Ja's going to be gone from the team indefinitely. So there's no, timetable as to when he's going to come back. But here's what makes the story even more crazier. Now the police in Colorado is looking into an investigation. Now they want to know, okay, probably where'd you get the gun? Who gun was it? Mind you, they're in Colorado, Memphis in Colorado, unless I'm like the dumbest person in the world. They're not in the same state, right? They're 2 different states. So now the Colorado police are looking and they're going to investigate to see, who gun was it? Where'd you get the gun from? So on and so forth to see if Ja broke any laws. Now, like I told you on my little drive-by episode, I pray that Ja Morant, even if it's not his, maybe it wasn't his, and I don't know if it was his, what their laws are in Colorado as far as you bringing a registered handgun into that state from a different state. I'm not sure if that state recognizes whatever state that gun was registered in gun laws, but I just hope that gun was registered. I mean, Ja's making enough money, man, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any felonies on his record that he can go get himself a registered handgun. And if it wasn't his, I hope whoever handgun that it was registered. I just don't want brothers getting in trouble for nonsense. So there's going to be more to the story. It seems like, and the NBA probably going to step in at some point and kind of sit him down for X amount of games. Now, we all remember what happened with Gilbert Arenas, and if you don't, guys who don't follow sports, Gilbert Arenas pretty much was bringing guns into the locker room, wilding out. But I want to say that he was a gun collector. Now, this is the type of stuff that make gun enthusiasts go crazy because it makes the gun community look bad when people are out here doing reckless stuff. Unregistered gun, you're brandishing a gun, you're not holding it well, you're pointing at the camera, you're pointing at people, mistakes happen, people don't know how to properly, handle a firearm. And I think that instead of us being scared of guns, that more gun education should be out there. Now, yeah, there's cases of mass shooting and things that in our community, and especially in Chicago and things like that happen where people get their hands on illegal guns and do wild shit. But I think for the most part, the gun community is a community of people who just appreciate the art and the make of the guns, and just some cool things to do with your buddy friends. So I say all that to say, oh God, Ja, I hope that gun is registered, good brother. You made a mistake. Hey, listen, man, we all make mistakes. I made them, you made them, your daddy probably made them, his daddy made them, and you just learn from it, and hopefully it'll make you a better man, and I have no doubt that it would. Okay, so now let's kind of stay in the sports arena, because this one made its round on the internet this week, and I find it very interesting, and I want to talk to you guys about it, get your thoughts on what you guys feel. Okay, so there's a show called First Take, if you're not aware. If you don't follow sports, there's a show called First Take with the host Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is the face of First Take, and he's also the face of just ESPN in general. And I'm gonna buy his book, by the way. He gets a bad rap, and people say he has a big mouth, but if you see his story and how bro came up to be where he is, you will really tip your hat to him and salute him. But that's a whole nother story. So this week on First Take, the is Stephen A. Smith, and he was joined by two other co-hosts. One of the hosts' name was Kendrick Perkins. Now, he's a former NBA player. And there was also another host by the name of JJ Redick, also a former NBA player. Now, I have to tell you the race of these guys for the context of the story. If you don't know Kendrick Perkins, we're going to call him Perk, because apparently I'm going to mess up Perk last name. My feet is feeling too good for me to remember this dude's name. Perk is a black American. JJ Redick is a white American. So they were having a debate about a particular basketball player named Nikola Jokic. In the league, they refer to him as the Joker. Now, the Joker is a European player, so he's white. And over the last 2 seasons, the Joker has won the MVP. So he's a back-to-back MVP. And it appears that this year, Joker is the front runner for winning the MVP again, which will make him a 3-time MVP winner. So they're on the show, JJ, Perk, Stephen A., and they're all debating. Now, Perk said that since 1990, there's only been 3 players to win the MVP award that haven't placed in the top 10 of scoring.
Talking about the evolution of the game, why didn't he never bring up this in particular subject? When it comes down to guys winning MVP since 1990, it's only 3 guys that won the MVP that wasn't top 10 in scoring. Do you know who those 3 guys were?
Who were they?
Steve Nash, Jokic, and Dirk Nowitzki. No.
Dirk Nowitzki.
What do those guys have in common? I'll let it sit there and marinate. You think about it. Now, here's the thing when it comes down
What Perk was referring to, that these men who won the MVP that wasn't in the top 10 of scoring were white players. JJ Redick took some exception to
and
this.
I mean no offense to First Take, because I think this show is extremely valuable. It is an honor to be on this desk every day. It really is. But what we've just witnessed is the problem with this show, where we create narratives that do not exist in reality. The implication, what you are implying, that the white voters that vote on NBA are racist, that they favor white people. You just said that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That is exactly what you implied, Kendrick Perkins. That is exactly what you.
And it seems like Perkins took offense to that, and he went on the defensive. He's saying, well, JJ, if you look, 80% of the writers who vote for the MVP award are white men. Perkins said that. And JJ Redick still stood his ground and said, Perk, what you're applying is dangerous. And that's the problem, with all due respect, with shows like ours. We put a narrative out there that's not necessarily true. Now, since 1990, there's only been 3 white MVPs. Now, if Perk is saying currently today in 2023 that 80% of the people who vote for the MVP are white, well, then can you imagine what they were in 1990? I mean, it had to be at least 100%. But let's go beyond 1990. Let's go a little further back in the 80s when Magic was winning MVPs like it seemed like every year. Magic never placed top 10. I mean, maybe one time when he was 10th. He never placed in the top 10 in scoring, but he will win these MVPs because he was the most valuable player to his team. Okay, so now let's go to Perks. Perks said, well, since 1990, since you want to use that as an argument. Since 1990, there's only been 3 white MVPs. Perks says it's because the white man voted for them that way. Guys, since 1990, there's only been 3 white MVPs. You have Steve Nash, you have Dirk Nowitzki, and you have Nikola Jokic. There's only 3. So if it's so racist, why there's only been 3 since 1990? So they went on to go back and forth, and mind you, by the way, this year, another player for the NBA is leading in scoring. I just want to tell you this, and then I'm gonna get to my point on this because this is important. The leading scorer in the NBA now is Luka Doncic from the Mavericks. He's the leading scorer right now, and no one's talking about him being an MVP. And guess what? He's white. Okay, so here's my take on this. A couple of shows ago, I asked you, are black people the most racist people in 2023? Now, I said that as a joke, a semi-joke. I mean, it was a joke, but I was really asking the question seriously. So it was like kind of in between. I didn't want to offend no one, and people calling me Uncle Tom. But seriously, I asked that question. In 2023, are black people the most racist people in America? Because it seems like we invoke race into everything. Everything has to do about race. Now, I looked up the definition of racism. Here's what the Googles told me the definition of racism is. It said it's showing prejudice, discrimination, antagonism against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group. In 2023, are black people becoming the thing that they criticize and hate the most? Is everything about race? Now, clearly, Perk was totally 1,000% wrong on his take. That the man, Jokic, is averaging a triple-double. His team is the best, has the best record in the league. This is why he's the front runner. A couple of years ago, when Russell Westbrook was leading the league in triple-doubles, everybody was on his nuts. Excuse my term of expression, but it's the truth. And guess what? Russ won the MVP. So why now that Joker, who is of European descent, a white dude, is on the cusp of winning his 3rd straight MVP, that the only reason he's winning it is because of the color of his skin? I think that's a total dangerous narrative. I think that people always want to say that Fox News and other news organizations are the source of division. But so-called liberal news and news media is also the cause of division too. Everything's about race, guys. Everything. A couple of weeks back, we had the NBA All-Star game. And a white dude won the slam dunk competition. And as soon as he won, everybody had jokes. Everybody was like, oh man, white men can jump. Oh, that white boy got hops. It was funny. It was a joke. It was in a joking context. But could you imagine if LeBron James went up there and, I don't know, just gave some sort of speech? If Twitter and the internet reacted saying, well, damn, look, black man can read. We wouldn't like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes, man, you just have to first of all, have a sense of humor about things, one. Two, stop being so sensitive because we are living in sensitive times. And I know my friends are gonna hate when I say this, but this wokey woke shit is killing us. The wokey woke stuff is just separating everybody because everybody wants to be identified by their race, by their gender identity, by their sexual identity, where we're just all human beings under one damn globe that's floating around in some black void of a universe. You know, so why does all this matter? You know, it just ESPN is just they're going too far with this narrative, man. You know, and that's why I've been getting into the UFC more. You know why I've been liking the UFC more? Because they don't do all that stuff, man. It's just about mano and mano. That's it. It don't matter what skin color you are. It's like, hey, dude, can you beat my ass in this octagon? You know? And yeah, it does. It appeals to men because we're dudes. We want our sports. We don't. And trust me, black guys feel this way. When at my job, this is all we talk about. We don't want our sports to be so divided and everything got to be about this. No, you try to escape that with sports. You try to push that outside world madness. You try to escape yourself in sports. You know what I mean? I was watching I was watching the NBA halftime show the other day, and they have these two remarkable sisters on ESPN hosting the halftime show. I believe one of the sisters' name is Malika Andrews, and I forget the other one's name. But she's a WNBA baller, and she's tall, and she's smoking hot, and she has a fat ass. And all I kept thinking was like, yo, I wanted to see her turn around so I could see that fat ass. I should not be thinking about that when I'm watching sports, man. I just want to see highlights, bro. Oh my god, man! It could be a tad much, a tad much. So I just thought that perk was totally off basis. Everything is not about race, and it's like, come on, guys, we got to do better. We can't because at some point, and then I'll move on. At some point, we're not gonna know what's really racist. If everything is racist, then what's really racist? You know what I mean? Because there is some racist shit that happens. But if you keep crying wolf on everything, no one's gonna believe you ever when the real shit pops up. Okay, so let's get into the four Americans that were kidnapped last Friday in Mexico. Okay, so and by the way, condolences to the two of them that were found dead. Let's get into the story. There were four Americans last Friday that were kidnapped as they made their way from Texas into Mexico. Now, they went through a particular border of Mexico, which was named, I'm going to get the name for right now, and I'm probably going to screw it up, Matamoros, Mexico. So they drove down in a white van, Carolina plates. I don't know what that's about, why they had Carolina plates on a Texas car. Who knows? But apparently it was three dudes, one female, all black Americans, and apparently they went into Mexico because the young lady wanted to go out there to get a tummy tuck. She went out there to get surgery on her tummy, and I'm assuming that the three brothers that went with her was just there to provide protection for her. So this particular part of Mexico is just cartel city. You go in there, it's pretty much enter at your own risk. So they went in there at their own risk. Something happened. The cartel had a checkpoint of some sort. According to U.S. officials and Mexican officials, there was some sort of misunderstanding, whatever that means. And the cartel gunmen shot at the car. They shot at the car. I'm not sure if the two Americans died on the spot, but at some point they did perish. Now, the female and one of the other guys, they're back home at the States. So I'm assuming at some point we're going to get a detailed, account as to what happened. So here's the thing. The internets are saying, okay, first of all, who the hell goes to Mexico for a tummy tuck, right? Who goes there? Like, Mexico is only known for one thing, man. Well, two things, and a tummy tuck isn't one of them. Mexico's known for drugs and guns. So they're like, okay, so what? The story just doesn't. The story sounds a little fishy to people, But that's of course because everyone is a conspiracy theorist on the internet. So they're saying, well, that doesn't sound right because if people who normally want BBLs and tummy tucks and shit, even like good teeth, shit, I might go out there. They normally go to Colombia or they normally go to Dominican Republic. So people are a little skeptical why these four Americans was in this particular part of Mexico that's ran by cartels. Now, of course, when things like this happen, there's going to be some sort of travel advisory, travel warning to go to Mexico. And when I was doing my research, I was seeing on news that they were asking people, would you still go to Mexico? Are you scared to go to Mexico? It's like at a level 4 warning now, so on and so forth. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been to Mexico a gazillion times. It's one of my favorite places to visit. I've even went off the resort all the time. I've took a local Mexican bus. Me being a bus driver that I am, I like to go and always use public transportation on the places that I travel to, if safe. And these places were deemed safe. So I wouldn't advise people to be scared to go to Mexico, but you have to know what part of Mexico you're going to. Now, I'm not sure if they did it, and if I had a hunch, I'm gonna say they probably didn't. But before I go anywhere, man, I'm doing like 2 months of research of that particular place to see is it safe. What's the crime like? What's the relationship with U.S. like? I mean, that's just my weird brain and the way I operate before I go on vacation. Now, I like to also venture out of the resort sometimes, but not too far. So I try to keep it in a certain radius because, hey, man, once you out of U.S. soil, things could go down, and even your flag can't save you, unfortunately, as it is in this case. So, just condolences to the families of the two men that deceased, and a speedy recovery for the female, and the dude who survived. Now, ladies, I'm not telling you what to do as far as surgery goes. I know you want to look sexy. I know sometimes a lot of women like to go get the BBLs and the tummy tucks and so on and so forth. But I promise you, if you dedicate if you was to dedicate the hours in as you would saving up the money, however you got it, because these surgeries aren't cheap, and you would dedicate yourself to working out, I promise you, you won't need to go put yourself in hazardous situations. And as we all heard the stories, forget about even going to dangerous places on a foreign country. Some of these surgeries have side effects. Some people don't wake up from these surgeries. So there's a risk whether it be going to a dangerous spot or just having a particular surgery done when you do things like try to enhance your body. We all want to be comfortable with our bodies, and I will never come on here and be fake and tell you that if you perform surgery and so on and so forth, you would have, hey, listen, it is your body. If you can afford it and you want to do it, salute. But just know that there is a healthier, less dangerous way of doing that if you put in the work and try to work out in the gym. So I just want to throw that out there to all the ladies. And trust me, I promise you, your man probably loves you the way you are. Don't even trip. Okay, so now let's talk about your good friend and my good friend, Mr. Kanye West. Yes, Kanye's back in the news. Bro, where you been? I mean, the news cycle is not the same when you can't talk shit about Kanye. But your boy Kanye is back on the news, and he's back for a couple of reasons. Let's talk crap about it. Okay, let's talk about the first reason why Kanye made the news this week. Kanye was back in the news because him and Adidas are semi back together. Okay, so Kanye and Adidas reached an agreement for $500 million contract to sell the rest of the backstock of Kanye's merch that they no longer were selling because, as we all remember, a couple of months ago, Kanye made some anti-Semitic statements. He said things like, yo, I could say anti-Semitic shit and Adidas still won't drop me. They dropped his ass. They dropped it like a hot potato. It got crazy for your boy Yeezy. So they dropped Yeezy. They dropped him. And honestly, Kanye just kind of, he just kind of disappeared for the last few months. You haven't heard of him. And I hope he's getting some sort of mental help because the bro is a genius. But Some crazy shit he says though I do agree with, and some crazy shit I'm like, oh god, here we go, right? So anyway, so now they're back together, right? Now Adidas is a company that believes in second chances. Or Adidas believe in a second chance to make that money because Adidas lost over a billy once they dropped the good homie Kanye West. So I guess somebody in the accounting department was like, guys, we losing bread. Someone get you on the phone now. So they coming to it. So they came to an agreement that they're gonna sell the back stock of his stuff. And they're gonna give the man $500. So maybe Kanye was right. Maybe Kanye can say anti-Semitic shit, and Adidas won't drop him because clearly they picked his ass up. I guess it's Adidas need Yeezy more than Yeezy need Adidas, or maybe they both need each other. Who knows? Okay, so now the second reason Yee is in the headlines this week is because, and this is a touchy one, guys. Okay, Kim Kardashian daughter Northwest was on TikTok. You know, they put out a TikTok video, and she was mimicking the rapper Ice Spice. Now, people of my age, if you don't know who Ice Spice is, and you probably do, but if you don't, actually teenagers, Google her. She's one of the newer artists, you know, and that's all new artists. I mean, you know, especially the females, everyone's twerking, bending over, showing ass. I mean, it's just what new rappers do, right? No one's judging. It just is what it is. However, Kanye did not like that his daughter Northwest was on the internet, you know, kind of emulating this rapper. She even because the rapper has like a red afro, kind of like Annie. Remember Annie, the orphan Annie? Yeah, so it's kind of redheaded like that. And her daughter was mimicking the rapper. And I think Kim Kardashian is friends with the rappers because apparently dad took some pictures as well too. Kanye did not like this. He did not like this. Kanye said that he told Kim that pretty much, yo, how many times I gotta tell you I don't want you putting my daughter out there like that on Front Street. It's just not a good look. So now my question to you guys is that do you think that Kim Kardashian is over sexualizing her kid at a young age? I mean, who am I? I'm not gonna judge or criticize anyone on how they parent. How you parent is how you parent. But I do have to agree with Kanye with something he said, and he's pretty much that this world feel like they don't need dads. They don't need the father to step in and be an influence in their child's life. I mean, the courts don't. The courts sometimes always favor in this on the side of the mom. Well, not always. I mean, if you want to trans your kid, apparently you're a dad, they're gonna take your side on that. But anything outside of that, they're gonna tend to you know, trend to side with the dad. So I do agree with Kanye with that part, that I think that the role of the father and the role of the man is being minimized in today's society. And you know, like I said, I'm not judging. I know I wouldn't be comfortable if my youngest was on TikTok emulating, you know, a rapper who's pretty much talking about getting back shots. I mean, if you keep it 100, right? I mean, that's what it's about. Not judging, but I just wouldn't feel comfortable with my younger daughter putting herself out there like that. Now, if my 19-year-old want to go on TikTok and do wild shit, I mean, at the end of the day, she's 19. What I'm really gonna say, but when they're young, man, you gotta kind of raise them right. I mean. And it goes back to the point I made on the drive-by episode. I mean, not only dads do, but moms do it too. Are we there to be our parents' our kids' best friends? Or are we there to guide and have wisdom and mold? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that, you know, I kind of agree with Kanye. But speaking about TikTok, apparently there's a bipartisanship effort to kind of limit the influence or even ban the app TikTok all by itself. Now, unless you live under a rock or something, or you just don't know, let me put you on to some shit that you probably should know. TikTok is Chinese software. As I like to tell my kids, it's Chinese spyware. I feel like TikTok is made by the Chinese. They gather information and they tell you, like if you was to read the terms of agreement on TikTok, they tell you they're going to gather your information. They're going to do it. You know what I mean? So there's a bipartisan effort to kind of limit the role or even ban TikTok. The Dems are on board with it. The Republicans are on board with it. A bill's going to be presented into Congress, and we're going to see how that goes. To be honest with you, the U.S. version of TikTok is way different. I mean, way different than the Chinese version of TikTok. The Chinese version of TikTok don't have like dumbass dances or shit that make your kid even dumber. No, they have things like who's the smartest mathematician in China, and I think they even had like a cutoff time where okay, now TikTok is shut down, everyone go to sleep. You know it's not like that in America. Our kids would literally, if we allowed them to, would be on that shit 24 hours a day. And by the way, I say this shit, and I am judging at this point. If you're over 40 years old and you have a TikTok account, if you're over 40 years old and you have a TikTok account, you, my friend, should probably kill yourself. Well, don't kill yourself, but you should think about it. Because, I mean, that's absurd. That's absurd. So, we're going to see where it goes, man. Honestly speaking, I mean, it's an app I personally will never get on TikTok. Well, I'm not going to lie. In the past, I had one TikTok moment when I was on another podcast. That shit was embarrassing. I'm going to have to say no to the TikToks, for real. Okay, so let's pivot into the hometown of Kanye's, Chicago. Now, I know this happened a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't really have a chance to chop it up with you guys about it. But I want to give you my thoughts on it. Now, a couple, like maybe like roughly 2 weeks now, Chicago had a Mary. Chicago had a mayor race, bro. I can't even pronounce mayoral, and it's still not pronouncing it right. But follow me. Chicago had a mayor race. They had a race for mayor, and at the time, Chicago mayor name was Lori Lightfoot. Now, Lori Lightfoot won the mayor seat in 2019. Lori Lightfoot was the first open gay. Let me get this straight because there's so many like identity labels with her. Okay, listen, man. She was gay. She was black. She was a female. Check, check, check. Boom, boom, bog. She wins the mayor seat, right? Now, Chicago has always had a crime problem. Chicago's crime problem has been out of control since the beginning of like Al Capone, right? But it really took a spike during COVID, which to be fair to Lori Lightfoot, I don't want to come on here and kill her, but what state? A lot of states had up climbing crime since the COVID. Okay, but let's take a look at her homicide stats from Chicago from 2019, the year she got elected. So, okay, in 2019, Chicago ended with 506 homicides. In 2020, Chicago finished with 772 homicides. Now, the next year is, I mean, because the next year was 30 murders more, but when you hear the actual number, that's going to get voters to kind of go the other way, which is not going to be in your way. In 2021, Chicago had 800 murders. 800 murders. I know that has to, mind you, I live in New York. We think crime is crazy out here. Can you imagine if New York City had 800 murders in 1 year? And in 2022, I don't even think New York is close, to be honest with you. And in 2022, Chicago finished the year with 675 murders. So this is all on Lori Lightfoot's watch. Now, as we all know, the unfortunate death of George Floyd happened in 2020. It was just like a shitstorm of just whatever could go wrong went wrong in 2020. You had COVID and you had George Floyd. People were protesting. People were tired of being locked down. It was like at this particular point in U.S. history, shit hit the fan. So when the thing happened to George Floyd, a lot of states, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of states that are primarily Democrat, a lot of blue states were talking about defunding the police, and some people were for it, and some people were like, "Oh hell no!" And Lori Lightfoot was one of the mayors in a state that is known to vote Democrat, saying that she was calling for defunding of the police in some sort of form or fashion. Now, I think that came back and bit Lori Lightfoot in her ass, all pun intended, because if you want to reform the police department in some way, if you want to show them better measures of to uh, do how to subdue suspects, I'm all for that. Like I really am. But when you start taking away valuable resources, or when you start talking about defunding them, and the cops' morale are already shit, because if we're being totally honest, some cops do some really messed up things. They really do. But the majority of police officers, and I really believe this wholeheartedly, you guys can kill me and call me whatever, but I really believe a majority of police officers they really just want to do their job and follow the code of conduct and so on and so forth. But when you start pulling cops back and you start talking about defunding them, there's only one place it seems like this affects. And the same thing kind of happened in New York City under Mayor de Blasio, or as we affectionately call him in New York City, Mayor de Bozio. The city, the inner city, where people of a certain income live at, always gets affected because criminals aren't stupid. Criminals know that, yo, if I do this to this old lady, snatch her purse, knock her down, what? If I get caught, I'm out in like what, a day? I can eat that. Where it's like a revolving door, and it's like super revolving now, because we're all scared to say what is the truth. And what the truth is that in the inner city, for whatever reason, the majority of the crimes committed are from brown and black people. Hey man, I'm not judging. It just is what it is. So I feel like the presence of the police really needs to be emphasized in these particular environments. No, police don't need to be kneeling on no one's neck for 8 seconds. No, they don't. They don't need to be like in the Tyron Nichols case, beating the life out of a young man when they could just easily subdue them. No, that shit don't need to be happening. But you have to have some sort of nuance, and you have to have some sort of balance to things. So you can't say and abolish the police. Like you just can't. Because when the liberals who live up here in their homes in towns that are normally protected by police, when the mayors of these cities that primarily vote Democrat have armed security with them, and they know no one's going to touch them, it is the everyday citizens like you and I who gets affected by crime. So let me finish off with Lori Lightfoot. Now, when she was running for re-election, she said, and I'm paraphrasing, but she pretty much said, listen, if you're going to vote for the other candidates, who none of them, I think there was only one black candidate who was running against her, but the guys who were like winning, I think one was a white gentleman and one was a gentleman of Spanish descent. She pretty much said, if you're going to vote for them and not for me, you stay your black ass home. That's kind of like the whole Joe Biden thing when he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I hate when politicians do that to my people. I hate when they try to tell my community that if you don't vote this way, then you're a sellout. That shit drives me up the wall. So she did that in a sense. If you don't vote for me, stay your black ass home, because you're going to let Massa win. She said that the reason why she's not getting reelected is because, well, you know what it is. Because I'm black. Because I'm lesbian. So then why did 4 years ago you beat the shit out of the person that was running against you? Which gives me back to the point I was making at the top of the show. You can't make everything about race. It's disingenuous. Everything isn't about race. You can't be a sore loser. You can't always make your argument and base everything on race. Certain shit is, a lot of shit isn't. And so that really kind of just pissed me off as far as the Lori Lightfoot. So long story short, she only took in 16.4% of the vote this time around. So she's out of there. So she had one term and she's out of here. Now, and by the way, Lori Lightfoot at one time said that she won't even do an interview with white reporters. Can you imagine if a white politician just blatantly said, even if I'm not saying they don't think it, but can you imagine if they said out loud like she did, hey, I'm not going to do any interviews with black reporters. Come on, man. What are we doing here, bro? Okay, so she's finished, and under her tutelage, Chicago had 2,773 murders. So I don't think it's about race, guys. I don't think it's about identity politics. I think it's about people, no matter your skin color, want to feel safe. And if you don't make the people feel safe, you're out of here. So there it goes for that. Okay. Chris Rock dropped a new special last Saturday. Now, I got to be honest with you. I knew it was coming out, but I was so into the UFC. I was like, I'm going to have to catch this on Sunday or Monday, right? So I finally watched the special on Tuesday, and it was really good. To me, not his best special. I mean, I still think Bigger and Blacker is like up there. I think that's the GOAT of Chris Rock specials, but this was really good. This special was really good. This special was good for the time that we're living in now. It's just a needed special because he's pretty much going against, I guess, the anti-woke establishment or what have you, people being too sensitive. The name of the comedy special is called Selective Outrage. And like I said, or I just finished talking about, people have selective outrage, and it's the most annoying shit. And that's why sometimes I try to stay off the internet, but I got to because I do a show in my living room on my day off and on my vacation. So I got to be outraged because I'm mad about people's outrage. So anyway, he does a show, puts out a special, and of course, everyone is talking about the Will Smith incident. Now, if you don't know, which you probably do, but let's just go over it. A year ago or so, at the last year's Oscars, Chris Rock said a G.I. Jane joke to Jada Pinkett Smith, who has a low crop haircut. Will laughed at first, looked over to his wife. She gave him the Sour Patch Kid face. Will then put on the I'ma handle my business face, goes up, walks up, slaps the living shit out of Chris Rock. Now, mind you, this is the first Oscars that was being produced by another black man, a brother. And this is what Will Smith did. Okay, but we don't have to go over that. Everyone knows what happened. But this is the first time Chris Rock publicly addressed it. Now, I know leading up to this special that Chris Rock had to work out the special. So I'm pretty sure people who was privy to seeing him work out heard this before, but Netflix did it out to the world now. So everyone heard what he had to say about it. And if I can, I'm going to try to put a clip up on the video so you can see it. But long story short, he was calling Will Smith the B word. He's calling him a bitch without calling him a bitch, but saying everybody else was pretty much calling him a bitch. And you could tell that Chris Rock was frustrated, man. You could tell it got to him because Chris Rock flubbed the joke. He was so emotional about it. Like to this day, still. I mean, it's been over almost a year. And he flubbed the joke. You know what I mean? And mind you, this shit was live, so they couldn't edit that out. You know what I mean? But you could tell it still bothered him in his soul that man will go on stage and smack him. Now, I know I make a joke on one of my shows about eating watermelon in front of white people, right? But if he slapped them in a room full of white people, man. And as a black man, that shit, not only did you get bitch slapped, but how he did it and where he did it, that must have stole his soul. That must have humiliated him. You know what I mean? Chris Rock had to eat that shit because he's a professional. This is not a street fight. And these are men a certain age. What was he going to do? And if he was to go back at Will Smith, can he really beat Will Smith? Like Chris Rock said in his special, this man played Muhammad Ali, guys. You know what I mean? He played Muhammad Ali. There's no wins. Like he said, he's Muhammad Ali, I'm Pookie. There's no wins to that. So it made me think, guys, and you tell me if you want to on the comments below, have you guys ever been humiliated before? I mean, like super humiliated before? Whether it's public, whether it's in front of your friends or family, where someone did something to you that embarrassed you. You know what I mean? It embarrassed you so much, it made you feel less of a man or a woman. It made you question yourself. It made you question your character. Because when things like this happen, you're always going to ask yourself, damn, man, why me? You know what I mean? Why me? Was it about me to think that you can talk to me that way or put hands on me that way? You know, especially if it comes from someone you admire or someone that's a friend or family. And most humiliation do come from people you care about. The majority of the time. And it seems like Chris Rock always supported Will Smith in any endeavors that he ever partook in. So it was like, you know, damn, brother, you do this to me. And the thing about being humiliated, you always play that experience over in your head over and over again to the point where you become less humiliated and you become even angry. So what's a person to do when a person humiliates you? What are you gonna do? You're gonna seek revenge on that person, but you want to, like you legit want revenge for what that person did to you because he took because they might have just like took the soul out of you. Well, here's the thing. One, you can't give people that much power sometimes. I know he got slaps. I know he did. I know he wore that and he had to internalize that and process that. And it doesn't feel good. But you have to not let it consume you. You know what I mean? And you could tell it did. You could tell it did for Chris. He took his ball, went home, and thought about that shit. So you have to come to a point where you have to move on. Now, Chris Rock has his comedy. He's an artist, and him putting it out there, and I believe this will probably be the last time he speaks about it because it was live, and I know he wanted to make sure he made this point. I'm pretty sure that Chris Rock is ready to move on from this, and if he hasn't, begin the healing. You know what I mean? I really believe he does. I'm not gonna lie to you. A couple of months ago, I got super humiliated. Super, super, super. And it low key messed with my mentals. It did. Low key. I'm way better now, but back then when it happened, I didn't like it at all, man. I didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't. So I had to come to a point where emotionally I had to let things go and I had to realize who I am. And I should never, and you should never, give anyone that much power to humiliate you. You know what I mean? Chris Rock has his comedy and his special. What do I have? I have the ability to start my own podcast. I have this dope quote from the internet. And by the way, all this shit I'm saying is part of my message of the day. Don't be bitter, my people. Don't let someone make you bitter to the point where now you're in a mood and it's messing up your vibe and it's messing up your energy. You know what I mean? I found this dope quote from the internet and it says, bitterness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. I had to let it go and I've let it go. You know what I mean? Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is for you and your soul, not them. So don't be bitter, my people. When you get to the point when you can emotionally forgive and you move on and you live to fight another day. Because at the end of the day, you're no victim. You are a savage, bro. You are a beast. And never let anyone make you feel otherwise. My good people, you know what time it is. I would like to thank you guys for always joining me on my podcast journey. Always thanks for the likes, the comments, the texts. I want to apologize for the last episode, low key. I did that shit at like 2 a.m. in the morning. I just wanted to put some shit out there because I couldn't the previous week. So I apologize if the energy was a little bit low on the drive-by episode, but who cares? I put it out there. It's out there. But I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for always showing me love on this thing I'm trying to do. Now, corner YouTube time. Make sure you make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you hit the notifications so you know that next time I talk shit, it's going to pop on your phone and you can come and you can watch me whenever you can watch me. Okay, my good people, that is going to be it for your boy today. Today is Friday. Today is March 10th. The weekend is upon us. You go out there. You continue being the good people that you are. You continue to love on the ones that love you. And honestly, love on the ones that don't love you. It don't cost you nothing. So from the desk of Don't Kill the Messenger podcast, is your boy Marc. And as always, without a shadow of a doubt, love yourself and love others. I'll see you guys again. Peace.